All right, we're live with Mika from Mors Subita and Pedro here from A&P-REACTS. So we are here to talk about, obviously, the new album that you guys are releasing April 6th. But before we get started on the new album, I really wanted to touch base with you about Wolf Heart, and you guys were just at 70,000 tons of metal. How was the cruise?
Well, it's January. In Finland it's very cold, so obviously going to the Caribbean for 4 days, it's just it's a no-brainer. So I have to go, and to play double gig in there also, that's even better. So we enjoyed it thoroughly. Like it was a really good time. Not in a typical sense of a metal cruise per se, because we didn't actually drink and party that much, because we mostly just ate a lot and slept and we actually worked out every day on the cruise. So we kept it pretty conservative, to say, but yeah, we liked it very much. We saw some pretty awesome gigs there, and our both shows were like phenomenal. I think they were great.
So as a band, is this something you would recommend for the fans at home to participate, to join, to go? Is it a fun experience all around?
Yes, I would definitely go there as an audience member as well. Yes, it's good times, and for any band, I would suggest you should do it. Definitely, there's 3,000 members in the audience, potential new fans, as a new band, as an old band, it's definitely worth going, and it's good times, just taking it easy also. There's lots of activities, good food, good drinks, good buddies, just hanging out.
I think the time of the year is also perfect, because it's a very cold time of the year.
Yes.
So it gives everybody a chance to hit the sun, hit some cool beaches. I saw some pictures on Instagram from you guys at Turks and Caicos. It looks like everybody was having a good time. So I think it's an event that fits both the bands and the fans, because I think everybody gets a little bit of everything. You get the music side of it, you get the vacation side of it, you get the sun.
Yes, of course, it's sort of not typical for an event or a gig, because the whole cruise boat is a big backstage, because everybody's hanging together with the bands, So it's a bit different for the audience, because it's not like a usual festival.
No,
you get to hang out with the bands a lot more, I think. Yeah.
That leads me into my next question that I wanted to ask you. Before we start talking about Mors Subita, and I have a lot of stuff to ask you about that, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, how do you make time to be in two bands, to be in Wolf Heart and to be in Mors? How do you manage your time between bands, between gigs? How does it work for you?
Well, of course, it's time management is a question, but well, this is a passion for me, so I put pretty much all my spare time into music, and I'm writing all the time. I play as many gigs as possible. I just love this. So I have come to a conclusion that 3 bands is too much, because I also have a third band, but it's kind of not active at the moment.
You have a third band. What's the third band?
Well, I joined the Eternal Tears of Sorrow in 2009. It's a Finnish. It's around where I come from, near Oulu, the northern Finland. They've been around since the early 90s. Yeah, it's an old band, over 20 years old band. And
actually, a few people have asked us to check them out. So now that I know that, I'm going to push them to the front of the list, because I really have to check them.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's an old band, and I was actually a fan of that band when I was young. So joining them, kind of. Also, I wouldn't be in Wolf Heart if I wasn't in Eternal Tears of Sorrow, because the first time I met with Tuomas, who is the founder of Wolf Heart, I met him in our. We played a couple of gigs in Russia in 2010, and Before the Dawn was opening for Eternal Tears of Sorrow, and then that's when I met Tuomas, and later on when Eternal Tears of Sorrow kind of was not that active anymore, Thomas asked me to join Wolfheart. So it kind of, it was like things slipped into place. So
It worked out for you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So now that you mentioned Thomas being from Wolfheart, and you mentioned the workouts, is he the driving force behind these the band workouts? Because the dude is massive.
He is. Yeah, of course. It's there's I think everybody works out on their own way. Of course, Thomas is doing a lot of that bench pressing. He's driving towards the military bench press competitions in Finland. And we do, it's a lot of work on stage when you're playing Wolfheart. It's hard from a physical standpoint. It's definitely destructive for neck. So we like to keep ourselves healthy so we can perform our best.
Well, I can tell you, we've checked out Wolfheart on our channel, and my son immediately purchased the new album on iTunes. Like, as soon as the video was finished recording, he purchased the album like immediately. He absolutely loved it. So because of that, I listened to it a lot too. I really loved it. And now this leads me into Mors Subita and your upcoming album, because I really want to talk to you about the band and about the album. The band was requested to us actually even before this new video was released, and I didn't know much about the band. And then when this new video was released and we watched it and you saw our reaction, it just absolutely blew me away. The guitar and that song absolutely blew me away, and the drums and then the vocals. Obviously, I'm a big fan of that kind of vocals. I'm a big fan of that kind of mellow death genre. So that video really opened the door to me to discover your band, and then obviously follow through with the album. So one of the questions that I had when I first heard that song was, what was the thought process behind this album? Like, is this something, like, this is your third album, is this something that you guys been working on for a long time?
Not really. Like I said before, I'm constantly writing new music, and I actually, after the Degeneration, our previous album came out, I had already written 2 or 3 songs that later became part of Into the Pitch Black. But I also, at the same time, I was writing a second album. I was writing a lot more like heavier stuff. I was writing tunes like which didn't have any melodies, were just all balls to the wall, like more death metal, more just aggressiveness. And I wrote this really heavy album, and then I also wrote Into the Pitch Black at the same time. And we had a serious meeting with the band in I think it was maybe 2015, late 15, I think it was, probably, yeah. We had a serious conversation. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I think it was that Christmas time. We had a meeting with the band, and I played them both albums, and I wanted the band's feedback on it, and we decided to proceed with Into the Pitch Black. It's a
you have already another album, like you could release another album next year, basically.
Basically, yes, but it was sort of a it could have been a bridge thing into something more heavier, but I think the story with Mors Subita will continue as being as melodic as we are now, because that's our roots, and that's where I come from as a composer. I like to keep it melodic. But I have a second album in my sleeve. Yes, I do have, and I have some plans for it, but it's not out yet. So.
And another question I had for you was, this album is your first album with this new label, Inverse Records.
Yeah.
What drove you to change to this label. I just want to tell you this before you answer that. I really found that the quality of the production and the sound mixing of this record was absolutely phenomenal. And for those of us in North America, Inverse Records are not really a well-known or well-established record label like so many others. So whenever I hear an album coming from Finland, from any band there that's coming from these smaller local labels, it's always something that, you know, worries the listener. But this album is really well put together. The sound quality, the sound, everything, production, everything, incredible. So what drove you guys to change labels coming into this album?
So the basis of how we work as a band and how we produce albums has nothing pretty much to do with the labels. We do our own production. Well, we record ourselves, we do the production, and then the mixing and the mastering, post-production per se, is done by various people, but the label has nothing to do with how the music sounds, to be honest. And we chose Inverse Records because it's a Finnish record label, and communication is easy. They really like the band, and we like to work with people who are enthusiastic with our music, you know.
Yeah,
so
like
I think that's the main point of any cooperation in music. It has to be, you know, you have to have the similar drive to really do the do the things that you both want to do.
That's very interesting what you're saying. I wasn't aware of that all of that work, sound mixing, all of that is really done by you guys on
Well, mixing and mastering is not done by the band, but you know, we do pretty much all the production ourselves. Drums are usually recorded in a bigger studio, but after that, usually I take control of the recordings and the editing and, you know, kind of the production. But we've until this point we have trusted the mixing and mastering to other persons and now on this time, I think we found our we found our guy really. Stefan from Illusia Productions was in charge of the mixing and mastering, and he did just amazing job, I have to say. And he also included some post-production things that just brought every piece of the puzzle together. It was a really big help in production.
No, the album, I said it when I did my review of the album, that to me, this you have to either be deaf, living under a rock, or understand nothing about music whatsoever to not consider this album, in my opinion, one of the top 10 albums of 2018. To me, is going to be up there, even top 5 albums of 2018. Because, like I said, you know, I have
to hear that.
Listening to the album, like, I've never felt so emotionally attached to almost each song as I'm going through the album as I have with this album, because it's really well put together. And that leads me to the second part. There was a couple of questions that listening to the album I had for you. The first was, you guys started with that intro track that leads into what became your first single. When you released the video actually includes both of them together. Was there a reason why you broke it up on the album side, but then when you released the video, you kind of put them together? Because to me, they kind of go together. You kind of can't hear one without the other almost.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not a huge fan of intros, to be honest. So, and I usually skip the intro on albums. I want to listen an album as a whole from the start to finish. I love listening to albums like that, but usually I don't dig the intros. But this time I really felt a connection with the melody, which is actually, the intro melody is the same melody as in the outro and in the void. So there's it was a really late point of the mixing that I had the idea of the intro and outro being the same, because in the void the melody is really strong, and I kind of just got stuck with it. You know, I wanted more out of that melody, so I wanted to included as an intro and as an outro. And with Stefan, we actually kind of pieced it together from my ideas. It was really, we were almost in the mastering phase when I started recording the acoustic guitars. It came, and the void actually was, I made that song week before we went to the studio.
That was going to be the second song I was going to mention, because to me, The Void, that song, it blew me away. To me, that song was the perfect closing of the album. Like if you could not put, like I said it on my review, you could not put that song anywhere else in the album. It had to be the last song of the album, especially the way you ended the song with the acoustic. You know, it was such a heavy, fast pace. Like the song is super, and then to end the song with acoustic, to me, honestly, that blew my mind, because I wasn't expecting that. When that song starts, you're never going to expect that song is going to finish the way it does. Did you have that in mind, or is that something that just happened while you guys were working on it?
That's what I always kind of, that's what I am composing music. I want to do with Mors Subita is that it's aggressive, as aggressive as possible, and at the same time it's as melodic as possible. And of course, you know, sometimes we kind of lean towards the other kind of, but I think that the void in that particular question hit the mark. You know, it really came through as I want a song to come through with Mors Subita being as aggressive and being as hard hitting and being as melodic as it is. But actually, about, you know, why we separated the intro and the first track is that I want the listener to, you know, he can skip the intro if he wants. It's and it's a shorter version on the video. But it kind of, we had this material from the video shoot that was kind of, you know, like it is in the intro, and I kind of felt that the intro would fit perfectly into it. So it kind of, you know, it was like a puzzle kind of coming together. So it kind of, we didn't have an idea of using the intro in the music video, but it kind of just felt like it needed it. So we put it in there. So it's like everything we do in music, it's all about how it feels. So it's every time it's a hard question, you know. It's just felt like it had to be like that, and we did it. You know?
It felt right.
Sorry?
It felt right.
Yes.
Like sometimes what I'm getting from you is that sometimes you go in with an idea, but then as you're putting it together, you're gonna go with what feels right at that time to you.
Yeah, and all that I kind of wanna kind of reflect from music, from our music, is, of course, it's kind of odd to say from, you know, as a melodic death metal band, you know, that it has to have a lot of feeling or emotion in it, but we kind of feel like you have to put feeling and emotion in every single song, whichever feeling it is. You know, you have to kind of let the listener feel the same feelings that you have. So it's a really hard question, but you know, it has to have something, some sort of emotion involved in the melody or in the riff or something. I think some people call it hook. I just call it, you know, emotional input in a song.
And to me, for me personally, one of the most emotional songs in the album, it's the one that has the title of the album, Into the Pitch Black. I really like that song, and I really like where you guys placed it in the album, because it was kind of in the middle of the album, and the first couple of songs are really aggressive, and that song to me was the first song of the album where the guitar melodies really come through, where there's a lot more of that grooviness in the guitars, and that song, it was not the first one that really caught my attention, but I really liked what it was placed, and I really liked it. To me, it felt like it was a song full of emotion, that the lyrics had a lot of emotion, that the song itself had a lot of emotion.
Yeah, it is. It's more melodic song than the first tracks of the album, of course. But it's kind of, it takes the band to its roots. I think we started out as more melodic than we later became. You know, our debut album was kind of even more aggressive stuff than we ever thought we would play. You know, I think we never, when we started, we never wanted to input blast beats and fast as hell double bass. We wanted to be, you know, we come from In Flames and Soilwork and kind of the Swedish melodic death metal scene where, you know, that's what we grew up with. So, but, you know, it kind of takes the band to our roots. It's more of that groove and the melody itself without the clean vocals.
Yeah. And the other song for me, like if I had to pick my favorite song of the album, which I honestly, I hope you guys, the next video you guys do, I hope you pick this song. And, you know, it was a song that the moment I heard this song, I absolutely fell in love with it. And it's probably the one that I repeat the most, and it's Shadows. That song is absolutely beautiful. Not just the vocals, the way the vocals come across in that song, but the melody, the guitar melodies throughout the album are something that it's like, I cannot put words to it, how incredible the guitar melodies in this album are, and the drum work in this album is incredible. But this song is my absolute favorite. Just the beauty of it. It's like when you're putting this song together and you're recording it, do you realize how good the song is? Like seriously, you hear it and you think, man, this is, I don't know how you feel about this track specifically, but for me, the moment I heard this track, I was like, okay, if I was in the studio and I'm recording this, I think I need like 10 minutes to myself just before I hear anything else, because that song completely blew me away.
To be honest, I really feel like when I'm recording or doing a song, I really feel like it's the bomb or it's the shit. You know, I feel like it's good enough. You know, and that's the feedback that I usually have from the band as well. I don't know if it's the Finnish culture of being, you know, introvert or whatever, but you know, we really think as a band that this is a huge song, man. It's more like, okay, it's a cool song, we want to play that, you know. And in studio, of course, it's there's a lot going on, you know, with the production and everything, technical difficulties and whatnot. So it's hard to focus on the music itself, to be honest. But Shadows was actually composed pretty early on, right after the previous album. I don't even remember how it was actually composed. I think it was pretty easy tune, and I think it was good from the start. But when Emily did the vocal parts for it, then it really kind of came together. So yeah, it's also it's a kind of it's tempo of the song is really hard. It's hard to make it really groove. For at least for you know, kind of like a more death metal oriented drummer or death metal oriented band, like I would say we are nowadays. So, but we try to, yeah. It's definitely one of those songs that brings us back to our roots as well. You know, it's really simple, focus on the melody, and I think Emily really hit the nail on the head on this vocal parts. I really like them.
I love your approach. It's like, yeah, no, when we did the song, we liked it. It was kind of cool. Like, whatever, we'll throw it in there in the album. Like, nothing special. Meanwhile,
we really don't have any expectations. You know, we're still a really small band, so we don't like to think too much of what we are and what we do. We just do it the best possible way, you know, best we can. So, and you know, it seems like it's people are finding it the same way that we feel towards music. So it's really glad. We're really glad to hear that.
Yeah, in the way you feel like, so this reminds me of something else. So if you feel like that about the music itself, what drove you guys to pick As Humanity Weeps as your first single? Because I'm sure you look at your album and you could pretty much pick almost any song to be that first single. So why that one?
We want to have a fast song as the opener. Of course, there's a couple even faster songs on the album, but it's kind of, I think it hits the midpoint in every way in the album. It has the melody, it has the groove, it has the aggressiveness. It pretty much, I think it has everything that the album has to offer in one song. So, and I like to kind of course, we do many decisions the democratic way in our band. It's not like one guy is controlling everything. So everybody has their say, and we kind of collectively just figured out that Humanity Weeps was the best single to start with, and we wanted to make a sort of a band video also, so it was a good choice. Because there's kind of cool things going on with the instruments as well.
No, I think the video was really well put together. Like for me, this was the song that introduced me to your band, so it was important for me from a video's perspective to see who you guys were, and I think that's important if you're putting your material out there for the fans, for them to know who they're listening to. So I really actually dig the dynamic of the video. The lead singer really comes across like as a complete badass. He has a little bit of that Amon Amarth look to him, which I really dig.
A couple funny thing, couple of members in our band don't like the look, but I think it's cool.
You know, I wish I had the look. As you can see, I have a problem with my hair, but I wish I had that badass look, because I think that in that video kind of really put it all together. That video is really well done, and it was really a good song to introduce me to the band. So I think you guys picked a really good one.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we feel like it also. It was our first music video was actually sort of similar. We did a song for the sermon, and we wanted to make a similarly aggressive music video also, because this song really felt like it needed it. So I think it came out good, and we had good videographers. So it was pretty much all up to them.
It's funny you mentioned the song "The Sermon," because that song has been requested by a few people on our channel, and that's how I first heard about the band, was through people requesting that song. And we haven't checked it out yet. We plan on actually going back and checking out some of your older stuff, especially for my son's sake, because I want him to listen to as much stuff as possible. I think it's important. You know what I mean? I think he needs to not just listen to the new material, but listen to the old material so that he can understand how the band got to where they are now. I think it's always important to do that. And that was the first song that a lot of people mentioned to us. Would you say that was your big calling card up until now, or do you find your second album, because that was from your first album, then your second album, you find that it holds its own place?
Good question. I think that with Sermon and the first album, also things kind of fell into place for the first time. Like we really felt like we were on to something with our band and our music and what we were pretty much doing the whole 10 years before that album came out. So the music video for the sermon was actually, it was well, I was studying communications. Long story short, I had some friends who have a video production company, and they wanted to, test some equipment like some GoPros and stuff like that, and really put the aggressiveness and brought the audience closer to the band, and it really worked out great. We really felt like it really was the first time that everything fell into place. And with the generation, I think we musically we did good, but there was some. I have to say that there was something lacking with pretty much on every aspect, on the production, on the videos, on everything. It just didn't feel as good as the first one. And now on our third album, I think we're on top of our game once more, going to the same level and even further than the first album. I think it's in place. Everything is in place at the moment. Yes. So it was I don't know. The generation wasn't for me. It wasn't as well put together as whole. The music videos and the production quality, of course, I think it was great, especially in the videos. But it didn't have the emotional input that or it didn't reflect the emotion how I wanted it to reflect it. So it was a hard album after the debut for us did so well, But I think this new album is really gonna, bring something new to the table and bring the band back to its place.
I think this album is really going to be it's going to push you guys over the edge, because like I said, I think this album it's so good. Like everybody that I'm talking to, either online or in person, I'm telling them, April 6th, guys, you guys got to pick up this album, because if you don't have this album in 2018, you're an idiot as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and guys and girls should pre-order it as well.
Yeah. I agree with you. Like I'm serious. Like I really think this album really deserves all the attention in the world, because it's absolutely amazing. Like I said, I loved it from the first song to the last song, especially the way you guys ended off the void with that acoustic. I absolutely loved it. There's one more thing I want to ask you about this album, and then I want to ask you one last question. But one more thing about this album. I'm not a musician. My son is learning how to play guitar, so I don't know much about the mindset that goes behind the guitar playing, specifically the solo. I love all the solos in this album, but there's two that I specifically love. One that I love above all, which is in Vultures. When you're putting a solo like that together, do you sometimes create the solo beforehand as you're composing the music, or at any point in time you just let loose, and then it's like, wow, I really like the way this turned out, let me incorporate this, and this is going to be the solo?
It's all improvising. It's pretty much I just hit record and start jamming with the tune, and then piece it together, and then hit myself in the head and tell myself not to be a chick and do stuff that I can actually play. But yeah, it's a really natural process. I just hit record and start jamming with the tune and come up with the solo. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. But for me, writing a good solo, it's all about the track itself. If it doesn't lead into anything, for me, I can't play a good solo. But since I can do the backing track myself, then it usually works out fine. But yeah, I just record and piece it together and like that.
You're making it sound like things are so easy. Like I'm sure there's a lot of guys watching this and like thinking like, wow, it's not that easy for me. But you're making it sound like it blows my mind how good material you put out in this album and how it seems to come so natural to you. Like I really admire that. I think it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much. Hey Pedro, actually, it seems like my battery is going dead, so I have to walk a bit. You don't mind that?
No problem. I have one more question to ask you, so you can walk to a place where you can charge, and then we can continue.
Yeah. Okay. Wait a second. It's not possible to cut the recording in between, no?
Sorry?
It's not. Is it possible to cut the recording in between?
Yeah, I can post edit a little bit, but this is kind of cool, to be honest with you. At least we get to see where you are.
Yeah, it's a hotel lobby.
For folks in.
Yeah.
All right. He's back. What I'll do is in the video that I'm going to post on YouTube, I'll cut this part out.
Awesome.
Because I was telling the people viewing it now that I'm not going to be singing, I'm not going to do any karaoke because I have a horrible so that's not going to happen. I just have a couple of more questions for you, and then I'm going to let you go because I want you to enjoy as much sun as possible before you head over to the land of snow and sorrow, which to some people could be Canada because, to be honest with you, our weathers are very similar. Our love for beer, hockey, cold weather, we have a lot of things in common. We just don't have the quality metal here as you guys have in Finland, and I'm definitely the quality of metal bands in Canada is not as high as the one in Finland.
Yeah, there's not so many bands.
Per capita, you guys are like every household has like a band almost. It feels like
it's also a curse, of course. There's my neighbor is a place in a black metal. It's a blessing and a curse.
Wow.
Say, yeah.
So
it gets pretty loud every now and then.
Yeah, I can imagine. I got a question for you in terms of 2018 and what's going to bring for Mors Subita. Any plans for big tours? Are you guys planning on touring in Finland, touring in Europe? What are your plans for tours?
Definitely, we have intention parts European tour, of course, but for the next couple of months after the album is out, we're touring Finland. In April and in May, we're going to Japan to play with Torresas, Beast in Black, and a couple other bands. We're playing 3 shows in Japan, so that'll be our first shows abroad. So we're starting it kind of cannonball style.
Wow, sounds good.
I think that'll be good for the band and good for everything. So,
how hard it is for a band like yours to come across to North America? Is it really difficult? Like, do you guys depend? Let me ask you this way: do you guys depend on a band? I'll give you an example. In November, I went to see Children of Bodom with Lost Society, and I think Lost Society would not have been able to come here unless they were coming with Children of Bodom. So is it hard to get something lined up to come all the way to North America?
It's very expensive. Just to get the visas, just to travel there, all the it's a lot of transportation is very expensive for a small band. So it takes a lot of money just to get there before even the shows. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of money and a lot of planning, and everything needs to go well for it to succeed. So,
wow.
It's really difficult. That's why not that many smaller bands are touring the US or the North America. But that's on my bucket list to say, you know, just a tour, longer tours with Mors Subita would be just a dream come true. So we're striving towards it, of course.
Well, I'll let you know one thing. If you ever come to Canada, I made this offer to the guys in Blood Red Hourglass. So if you guys ever come to Canada, to Toronto, barbecue at my house is free. Beers, barbecue. It's on me.
You don't have any idea what you're getting yourself into. You have no idea, man. The amount of meat that Mors Subita can consume, you don't know. You don't even know.
I don't have workout equipment. That I don't have. So that I cannot offer you guys.
Barbecue is enough. And beer is even more.
For sure.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Because I would love to see more bands like you guys coming to North America. I find that we get a little bit of a taste of quality metal coming from Finland here. Like I said, I went to see Children of Bodom, Lost Society. I'm actually going to see Insomnium this summer. So we do get a few bands coming over here, but not that many. And I always wonder why. And in the back of my mind, I always thought it was the cost. And then you just confirm that cost is always an issue.
It is very, very expensive to tour the US. But, you know, we have to get our foot in the door first in Europe, and then we can proceed to the US, I think. Of course, we're going to Japan first, but, you know, never mind that.
Japan is a little bit closer, if you will.
Yes, but we got a good offer from Japan, so we want to do it. There's a good promoter, a friend of mine that got familiar with Ethos touring Japan. So there's a really good promoter and company that's bringing the bands there. So it's really safe and really good production, and the band really deserves it. So I want the band to finally play abroad, even if it's Sweden or even if it's Japan or whichever country it is, but it's time.
And one last question, any plans for some festivals as well? Because there's, the summer is around the corner, so there's going to be all sorts of festivals, including Tuska. Any plans?
We have some plans, but it's not out yet. We haven't even released the final plans for the Finnish tour. So, but it's right around the corner. We will soon release the dates. So there will be shows. Yes, in
That's
Finland.
Perfect.
Yes,
all right.
and we're already booking festival shows for next year. So all promoters that wish to have us play their festival, please contact us.
I also saw that you have a show coming up in a couple of months with Shade Empire, correct?
Yeah, that one slipped through the cracks. They kind of released that without any, but it's out there, so might as well be. But it's not the record release show, so that's still not out yet. But we'll release the show dates really soon.
All right. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. I really appreciate you're taking the time to do this. I hope your fishing expedition this morning went well.
It was good. We caught some fish. Yeah.
Was it marlin? You guys went marlin fishing, or?
It was a small marlin. Yeah.
Like a tuna.
Yeah, kind of like a tuna. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it was cool. Well, we enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. Not being in the sea for a big cruise ship or anything like that. It was cool experience for sure. But hey, you said that there's no, of course, per capita it's not the same in Finland as in Canada, but there's a lot of good bands coming from Canada. One of my favorite bands is Strapping Young Lad, man, and Darth. That's from Canada as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Darth, yeah. Some of my all-time favorite bands come from Canada. So
no, there's a lot of good bands here, but I just find that per capita you guys have like way more.
That's true. Yeah, it's even a bit odd.
I think young kids here, they tend to go more towards hockey than they do towards metal bands. because the metal scene in North America is not as predominant as it is in Europe. I'm Portuguese, so I coming from Portugal to live in Canada, I can tell you that the metal scene, like for example in Portugal, is completely different than the metal scene here. Like if I walk outside with a Cannibal Corpse T-shirt here, you kind of get a weird look, but back home, people are like, "Yeah, man, good taste," you know. So it's a little bit different. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. I really appreciate you doing this.
People...
Thank you.
Sorry, the connection is a bit bad right now, but yeah, thank you so much for the interview, and
no problem.
It was a pleasure, man.
Thank you for taking the time to doing this on your day off. Safe travels back to Finland tomorrow. I'll be looking forward to the next video, and I'm really hope it's Shadows. Like I'm putting in my
we'll see. Yeah, it's a good song for sure. We'll see what happens, man.
I'll be happy with any video. To be honest with you, I'll be happy with any video. I love the album. So once again, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Man, take care.
See ya.
See you, man.